Got the tonic water, the ice, and the gin.
Perfect. Well, I was going to go with the ink gin, right? But I saw it there and I had to buy a whole bottle, and I've had it before. I went with the local one. So you'll go with your local one. I go with my local one, which is this one. I came across these guys and I want to go to their distillery for a while, but they do a proper copper still distillation, with proper infusion of the botanicals. Like a lot of gin places, all they do is just ethanol, put essential oils in, and formulate it. So yeah, it was interesting to try this one. I've got a light floral gin using the finest ingredients: juniper, coriander, strawberry gum, anise, myrtle. So these are like native botanicals with sweet licorice root and rose petals, hence the pink sort of color. So I'll give that one a go.
I have a little bit of a. I don't know if this is real, if it's just in my head, but I think they taste better. The drinks taste better when you put the gin in, well, the ice, and then the gin, and then the tonic water. I don't know if order matters, but something in my head says that tasted better than the last time I made it. So
It always smells quite medicinal, doesn't it?
this smells very ginny.
Do you know the history of juniper or not?
No, but in Arizona, juniper trees grow all over, and there's a ton of gin distilleries here in the Arizona, Phoenix area now.
Well, it's interesting because it has to be cold enough for them to grow, so they can only grow in like reasonably cold areas. But the word Dutch courage comes from what the Dutch used to drink. So arguably, they're the ones who created it. Juniper was growing sort of around the Netherlands and those areas, and they used to distill that, add some local botanicals, and that was it.
I have a property up in the mountains of Arizona, and we have tons of juniper trees all over there. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize the connection between junipers and gin until recently.
It's like the main ingredient, arguably.
I know, but I never thought about it. And then there's tequila, which grows from agave, roots. And I did go to Mexico City and try the pulque, the fermented liquid that grows in the. It just kind of seeps into the bowl of the heart of the agave. And I tried it at the pyramids of Teotihuacan, which was really cool. It's pretty strong. It's a little beerish and a little ginish, but somewhere in between. So that was pretty cool. And then I heard this story on the Econ Talk podcast. I can't remember the guest's name, but the guy wrote an article or a book called Tribes. And he said that gin is the reason why babies don't sleep with parents anymore, like why kids sleep in separate rooms, because when gin came out in Britain, I think in the 1700s, something like that, people went so fanatical about it that they just drank to excess and then ended up suffocating a lot of their children. And so they took the babies out of the bed and put them in a bassinet. But apparently there was so much crying that the crying and the drunkenness were not a good combination. So then the the next step was take the baby out of the room in the bassinet and put it somewhere else. And so that's why co-parent sleeping like basically stopped because of gin.
Wow.
So cheers to that.
Okay, well, cheers. Good story. Cheers. So, I got a high quality tonic as well. The proper quinine extract as well. We were talking about this the other day, weren't we? Quinine. You've got yours. Oh, is that the Whole Foods one?
Yes, it is. My wife kindly went and got some. Go ahead, tell your story, and then I'll tell mine about tonic water.
Well, I mean, tonic is called tonic because it was an actual health tonic for the British soldiers when they were in southern India and where malaria was quite rife, in Africa as well. And so, yeah, that's where this gin with tonic came from, because it was actually anti-malarial in a way. Quinine extract. It's like this. I think it's an extraction from the bark of a tree or something. Anyway, it has anti-malarial properties. So they were sort of forced to drink this like every day as a tonic. And of course, you'd have rations as a soldier at the end of a hard day's battle or whatever. So you'd put a bit of gin in, and it just became a thing. And then the sort of like that was that soldier, sort of royal soldier class in Britain. Being in the army has a sort of a high class strata as well, so it has a lot of status associated with it still to this day. So they'd go back home to England, and then that was seen as a very gentleman-like thing to do at the end of the day. So then it sort of filtered down from there. So similar to the bassinet story. But yeah, I was getting back to the juniper. I forgot to finish the story. So juniper, Netherlands, this word Dutch courage comes from the fact that the Dutch supplied gin to the English when they were fighting. It would help give the soldiers courage in battle. So hence the term Dutch courage. It's a reference to gin.
Oh, interesting. I guess that's one reason they call it liquid courage, right? So this tonic water, I didn't really know anything about it. I was never a connoisseur in any way. And then my friend Morag Barrett, who runs a management consultancy called Sky and Associates, she's from the Isle of Skye in Scotland, I think. She says she's tried every single tonic water available in the Denver area and probably in England. And she could not believe that Amazon's 365 brand from Whole Foods was the best tonic water she'd ever had. And I was at her place last year, and she made me. I think it was a vodka tonic, and no joke, the cup was as big as my face. And I I laughed. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to drink this." She said, "Just try it." She poured the whole can of tonic water in, and an equal amount of vodka into this cup, and I drank the whole thing, and it just tasted incredible. So yeah, ever since I've been after this. This she says this is the best you can get.
Well, I mean, it's a funny story. Yeah, look, I do blind tastings as well with wines and drinks. You'd be surprised, if you get rid of your. This is really good marketing, by the way. Like, if you get rid of all your sort of preconceptions around brands and everything, and you taste them for just what they are, you'd be surprised at what value and high quality ingredients you can buy with very little money. So the same definitely goes for wine. Like, everyone likes buying these very expensive French Bordeaux for like $900,000 a bottle. You can get great substitutes for about $100 that, if not better than any of those wines will ever be. But anyway, just old habits die hard, right? So speaking about that, about faking it to an extent, one of your main gigs is a ghostwriter. Well, arguably that's kind of a lot of what you do these days, among other things, among sort of sipping cactus extract. So I just find it funny because I was on a post the other day with LinkedIn, right? And obviously we both do a lot of B2B work, so it makes sense. But it was someone from a very large company. I can't say who, but they were called out by somebody for going, "Oh, you just ripped that off somebody else." And then I saw another one of this person's posts, and they ripped off something that I'd created. And this is a multi-billion-dollar global company, and their head of strategy had like basically pilfered one of my posts, repurposed it, and posted again. And I was like, "Oh, you sneaky little bee." Yeah, I just found it funny how like all the best posts are not really where you think they come from. So
I was thinking about this since you and I last spoke, and I remembered this event. There was a band in the 1980s, maybe early 1990s, called Milli Vanilli, and they were sort of a hip hop act. And it was two guys. I think they were brothers, maybe twins, and they were performing at a concert and singing with the microphone, and then the music started skipping, like there was a record playing, and that's what the crowd was hearing. And the music starts skipping, and one of the guys runs to the side of the stage and basically bumps the record needle so that the song continues. And of course, they're not out of breath, they're just dancing because they're not singing. And all these people, it basically like ended their career. And then there was this big investigation into Milli Vanilli. Not only were they lip syncing, but they also weren't recording their own vocal tracks. They were hiring other singers, and those singers weren't getting credited on the album. They got paid plenty of money, and this was a big hip hop act at the time. So the downfall of Milli Vanilli was pretty disastrous for them. I mean, basically, they fell out of the limelight entirely overnight. And I saw this comment. I was looking up videos, and somebody said something like, "It's not just that they were lip syncing; it's that they weren't even singing on the recordings. That other people were singing and weren't getting credited." And I was like, "Man, this is just like ghostwriting on social media, except nobody cares anymore." Like, we were way past this, point of lip syncing and I guess a form of uncredited potential plagiarism is completely socially acceptable at this point. Whereas 30 years ago, it would ruin someone's career. Now you find executives, some person behind the scenes finding popular social content and then publishing it as that executive. And so, my opinion is if you're reading something by an executive, especially of a large company, and you think it's good content, they didn't write it. It's ghostwritten. There's just not a chance that someone who's really good at running a company, a C level executive, is also great at LinkedIn. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think what I was talking about the other day with you as well was around I work with a lot of PR people as well, and sometimes one of the services they sell in the back end of that publicity, getting these executives or senior leaders in panel discussions, or as news opportunities, or even sort of inserted into the media on comment and things like that, is that off the back end sometimes they manage the social media or LinkedIn of these executives as well. So they'll help write content, post it, and then sort of like if you're interacting with that person and connect with them online, you're not really interacting with them. You're interacting with their either PR rep or their EA, or what do you call it, executive assistant, or PA, personal assistant. You're not really interacting with the executive. And this is really funny because a little while ago, I had this client who wanted to target executives for their marketing campaign as a bit of an outreach thing because they were selling executive education. And I didn't have the heart to tell them that, like, that was all great. You're getting lots of leads and responses and everything, but you're not actually talking 90% of the time to those people who you think you are. When you're interacting with all of these people, you think it's like executive, but it's not. It's just their EA or PA. So that's why there's not a lot of interaction back and forth. And if you ask any sort of questions, you won't really get an answer because it's like some junior person that's helping manage their account. But anyway, what's your experience?
Oh, sure. That's one of the top inquiries we get as a content marketing agency. Can you ghostwrite for our executive or our SME? It's really, it's really a thing right now. And I think there's a lot of, it's kind of like there's this set of beliefs, like a zeitgeist that enters a role or a position, and then suddenly the whole market adopts it. And I think ghostwritten executive content on social media, particularly LinkedIn, is in the zeitgeist right now. So if you know how to do that and you can manage executive content and you can sound like an executive, speak on their behalf, and use as much of their language as possible, then you're kind of like set. You can find unlimited work. The question is, can you actually turn what they say in a video conversation or video interview into something that's interesting, that has a hook that makes people want to read it and be interested? But I think a lot of executives just have a name, and if you have a popular, well recognized name, all of your content is good and well worth reading. You see a lot of these guys that are influencers, and if you just look at their content without their name, it's kind of crap. But when you look at the name, then people are like, oh, I want to engage with this, even though it's garbage. So, yeah, I think there's just a ton of ghostwriting on social media, especially right now. And if I can use my leads as an indicator, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more executives on LinkedIn in the next few months, if not years.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point there that a lot of other people don't talk about with content quality, right? So, um, this interplay between the quality of the content itself and then the halo effect that the brand or the personal brand provides to that content. So, ironically, the more popular you get and the more well known you are, the worse your content can be. And then vice versa, the less well known you are, the better your content has to be to compensate for the fact that you don't have that personal brand halo effects pushing everything up. So it's this weird dichotomy in a sense. And that's why I really caution people, if they don't have that personal brand, that if you're looking at these big people and trying to emulate them and then wondering why, almost copying and paraphrasing their stuff doesn't really get you where you want to go, it's because they have this sort of cult following that people are going to like their stuff regardless because they like the person, not what they're saying often, or they look past what they're saying. So that emulation effect, I just caution people around using that strategy because I don't know if you've ever copied a post before from someone or taken inspiration and then you post it and you're like, why didn't that work?
No, No. No, I think anything that's popular, I avoid it. I mean, I run a channel called Make Weird Music. Like I seek the unpopular. And so you see Elon Musk post a tweet and it'll be like the double exclamation mark emoji, completely worthless. Like it doesn't add anything to the conversation except Elon Musk reacted to it with one emoji character. And that'll get 8,000, 10,000 likes and a million impressions. It's just kind of like, this is so dumb, you know? Like, why would anyone even like that tweet? There's just not a reason to like it. And if I did it or you did it, I mean, you're very popular on LinkedIn. You have a large following. If you just posted a single emoji, like people wouldn't engage with it. It's a stupid thing. Like, why would you engage with it? But if it's like some special celebrity or an artist, like a Taylor Swift or something like that, they could literally put a video of themselves farting and it would get a million likes. It's just dumb.
So bad, isn't it? I mean, that's the power of a brand. So speaking of these ghostwriters, then can you name drop any that you know to be definitely ghostwritten, who we may be familiar with or semi-famous, or maybe some of your clients or ex-clients? So
Well, I would definitely say anyone who's famous, like really famous, 95% of them have to be ghostwritten just in general. Like there's almost no way you're interacting with that real person. Um, or they have an assistant, like you've said. Even John Cleese, from Monty Python, there's posts where it's clearly a promotional thing that his agent or somebody put on there. But then there's the stuff that he's actually saying, and you could tell there's a difference between those. But I think a majority of celebrities and even executives, it doesn't take much to tell that they're ghostwritten. If you look at the schedule, if you look at their posting, if they're doing it every day, there's somebody running it. If they have consistent timing, 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 day a week, 3 days a week, whatever it is, any sort of cadence is an indicator that somebody is there running this machine. Secondly, most people who are genuinely busy are genuinely busy. Like social media doesn't give them a lot of value, so there's no reason to be on it, except maybe their ego. But there's one guy named Javon McCormick that he kind of had this spectacular downfall, like a swan song just recently. It's really unfortunate because he seems like or at least he seemed like a really awesome guy. And I'm sure he probably is in many ways, like very respectable. Uh, but like he had a company called Scribe Media and they had 150 employees and literally in one day the whole company just shut down. He just shut down the whole company. Apparently he leveraged the company in such a way that he could not, like he made a bet and failed and suddenly he was in huge debt. So he had to shut down the company and fire like 150 people. And literally in one day all these people went from being employed to unemployed, uninsured, no back pay, no pay for, vacation or any other benefits. It was just over. And so I replied to his, falling on the sword post saying, it was like a week after he shut down the company. You don't know what I've been through and blah, blah, blah. Really sad. I'm sorry. And so I just said, hey, if you are looking for writing work, I have so much work, I don't know what to do. And his ghostwriter ended up reaching out to me and saying, hey, I'm available for work. And she's awesome. And I was like, wow, I would love to use you for, for executive ghostwriting. But, it's a little pricey for our services, but like, there's so many, and I'll just keep in mind, this guy was Entrepreneur of the Year in Austin. He had, awards after awards. He's written a book. He had a book called Modern Leader. And I don't want to beat the guy, but like, seriously, he had this incredible downfall and all of his customers were left in the lurch. Scribe Media was basically a ghostwriting company and they helped people write books. And so there's like literally hundreds, if not thousands of books where people say, I paid $85,000 to this company and I'm not getting a book. Like, I have no idea where my asset is. And as far as I can tell, they got nothing. So any company where there's a multi-million-dollar executive, it's ghostwritten unless they're like, you can tell it's Elon Musk who's at the helm of his Twitter account, and maybe Mark Zuckerberg on Threads, but like for the most part, Most of these guys are just paying some young person $2,500 to $5,000 a month to post on their behalf.
Mm. It's unfortunate, isn't it? Has a lot of people fooled, I think, which is very interesting.
But is it really? I mean, honestly, is it really unfortunate though? Like, what makes you even say that?
Well, I think it's just the fact that people are conversing and spending their own time with someone when they think it's them, when it's actually somebody else. So, like, once you find out that fact after the fact, you go, "Oh, that's a lot of sunk cost of my time and energy." What did I get out of that? I thought I was close to this person, and that is kind of what social media originally was about. I mean, Instagram sort of started that way. It was a way of feeling closer to your celebrity and the day of their life. And it's like people could live vicariously through that person. And then once you find out that it's just manufacturing a facade, it loses that authenticity a bit. So that's kind of what I say is a bad thing. But I mean, I think a lot of people are still fooled, or they think it's the case, but they don't want to know. Sort of like head in the sand.
Yeah, and these celebrities have no real incentive to be on social media, except if they're bored. Like actors when they're on strike or whatever, they have nothing else to do, so they engage with their fans. But I know a lot of celebrities, and they have people who post for them, and there's no shame in it. It's not a bad thing. I'm friends with Carl Hughes. He runs a technically a competing company to me, but he's written publicly about finding a ghostwriter, and he's like, why would I spend my time writing this stuff if you think you're getting to know a celebrity or an executive or something like that? You're probably getting to know their assistant, and maybe they'll send messages over, or it'll be like a weekly report or a dashboard, or here are some of your key influencers, so maybe you can shout out to them in a video or something like that. I just think there's a lot of BS in the world, and there's a lot of incentive to BS the world.
Yeah, well, speaking about that, because that's a good segue into content quality. So, most people, I think, have noticed over the years, if you've been using social media for a while, that it's getting harder and harder to get the same sort of breadth or views. A lot of people on LinkedIn recently probably noticed a month or two back where they updated a pretty cool sort of algorithm filter that you'll notice now when you post something, it's sort of like it goes to X amount of people and it gets spread a bit more if it's good, and it gets spread a bit more again, but it's very slow. It used to be a lot faster. So we have to sort of meet these certain quality thresholds before they give you that sort of reach, and then it's sort of spread over like 7 days to a fortnight now, instead of like mostly coming the first day or two. So a lot of people don't understand quality filters, but the point is quality content is what you need to do now. You can't just put some banal crap on there unless you're very famous, as we've just noticed before. So if you're building your account up or want to get some exposure, which is 99% of people, you can't rely on that sort of brand factor. So you've got to counteract that with some quality stuff. What is quality, I suppose, is then the second question. And you mentioned the other day that this vanilla kind of content doesn't cut it anymore. So um, how do you ensure quality, and what is quality if someone was trying to discern between maybe your services and somebody else's that sort of offer the same thing? Like, what is quality to you?
Okay, so that's like five questions in one, because quality to get someone's attention is not quality in terms of goodness. So uh, you can be very good at getting attention, but very bad at producing good quality content. Um, and so you have to know, it's kind of like the tool. You need a tool bag, and you've got like the attention hammer, and then you've got the screwdriver for like detailed, nuanced argument and whatever. I found that and I was just tweeting about this today, there is no reasonable amount of money to rescue you from boring content. And I just spoke to a prospect this morning, and they were like, we've hired a Google ad keyword expert, we've hired an SEO person, we hired a writer, we've hired a content strategist, we've gone to Upwork, we've hired professional consultants. Nothing has worked, and they're like, the only thing that works is going to conferences and speaking to people. Like, if you wouldn't read your own content, then why do you think someone else is? Like, you have a vested interest in this. It's just like, people don't realize how bad boring is, and how much boring is a death sentence for your content. And so I was saying to these guys, like, they run this GitHub project. It's for software crap, and it's like, if you guys have a stat that surprises people, then we can write a headline that surprises people. But if all you're talking about is faster this and safer that, no one wants faster and safer. They want to be intrigued. Quality on social media is very different than quality in a thought leadership article, which is very different than quality in an email campaign. Um, so I think like you have to understand the channel, the medium, the message, the recipient, where they are, probably on the toilet. Uh, Most people just think quality means long or funny. Like they have these sort of one dimensional characteristics. Whereas I look at quality, and I have to really attribute this to my business partner, Ellis Fitch. She is brilliant, and she's helped me to see quality is a multi-dimensional thing that very few people understand. If you go on Twitter and you see all these marketing people, most of them are too young or too inexperienced to understand quality. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way. It's just kind of like I didn't know what a great beer was until I started drinking good beers. I hated beer. I thought it was just dirty hop water, but now I've grown a taste for it because I've matured as a person. How much can you know about marketing and quality when you're 24? Like, do you know what an ad is? Do you know what marketing is? Do you know how to employ the right tools at the right time? It's nothing against young people. I think they're awesome, and I wish I was still young. But like, there are tools and techniques for different contexts, and so quality means many things. I'd love to know your take on this, because it's a source of real frustration for me. And I always tell clients, we don't win on price. We're not sad or sorry that we're not cheap. And you can try a million different things, but if your content is boring, it won't get anywhere. And they'll still opt for cheaper stuff.
It does, because it depends what product category you're in and what you're selling. So if it's you as an executive, you're doing a leadership piece, I mean, your audience is basically internal. So it's your staff, other executives, maybe other staff you want to attract to your organization. That's a very different audience to what I do, which is like selling a product or service generally. And so I think it starts with knowing your audience first. Like, who is your audience is the first question you should be asking. This is just basic marketing 101. Profile them. You need to understand, and Gary Vee, bless his heart, he gets one thing right, which is around this empathy. What he doesn't explain is like what that means. Empathy means that you understand the situation your audience is in. You understand how you can change their situation for the better, solve their problem, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is that you're offering. You need to understand the context that they're in first. What problems do they have? How do you solve that problem? Okay, and then you reverse engineer everything that you do around that problem or that opportunity that you want them to take a hold of. And it starts with that research piece. Now, some people, like you and I, maybe we just have a lot of experience in some areas. We just sort of know intuitively, yeah, I've done work in that area before. I know exactly what those triggers are, or what those sort of buttons that we want to press. When you have your channel, the music channel on YouTube, you just know the set of questions to ask people to elicit the best responses, right? And very similar to me, like, and I think if you're not familiar with the category, you probably don't understand what that is. But it starts with research, and then I map out all the purchase context or purchase situations that people enter a buying situation. I understand what those things are, and then I can sort of reverse engineer content around that. No matter what form the content takes is the next thing, and then which channel it's for, like you said, needs to be repurposed for those different things. So I've done things where I've like taken a Twitter post, but on LinkedIn it hasn't done as well. Gone viral on Twitter, doesn't do anything on LinkedIn, just because of the audience difference. So like I can be a bit more joking on Twitter and a bit more explicit and sort of like a bit more trolly on Twitter, I would say. And the tech sort of finance bros, they love it. And then I try and do that on LinkedIn, and it doesn't wash over very well.
Yeah, in fact, we sell a multi-$1,000 workshop experience. The whole project takes 1 to 2 weeks, $5,000-$6,000, and we run you through a half-day workshop. And it's like a small group of executives at a company. And it's funny, like on the surface, it's a key messaging workshop. So the purpose of this is to get key messages out of it. But I call it a constructive conflict process. So essentially, like the executives who are involved in this, they all have different perspectives on what their key personas are. They don't even understand their personas in the same way. And then, secondly, they don't understand their own product in the same way. They're using all this different language to describe the same thing. Like, this is what we do. And then the marketing guy's like, no, this is what we do. And the engineering guy's like, no, this is what we do. And then the CEO is like, guys, what the heck are you doing? Like, why do we have these different opinions? And it becomes this sort of like, there's a real emotional escalation point, and then it comes down, and like, then people start actually working. And I found that, like, when it comes to quality, people it starts with an understanding of what it is that you're trying to say in the first place. And my company wouldn't exist if companies could actually articulate what they do. But it turns out 85-90% of companies can't actually articulate what they do. In fact, most people can't articulate. I can't do it for myself either, because I'm tunnel visioned. Like, for when it comes to ourselves, I don't know why anyone follows me on social media. I don't know what to tweet or write about. And I'm just like, this is so dumb. Why am I doing this? And yet I must. So, like, one of the great things about having an external party like an agency or a consultant or something is that they can see your thing with objective eyes. They are separate from it. Whereas, like, sort of in a personal psychology thing, you can say, I'm having the experience of anger. I'm feeling the experience of happiness. When you're in a company and you're building a thing, you can't separate yourself from the work that you're doing. And so you need, like, another person to say, hey guys, this thing that you're building is actually solving a problem for someone. It's no one cares that your product exists until they have a problem and they need your solution. Like, everyone says, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, there could be, in this alternate universe where you are not part of your company, there could be someone who has a bunch of nails and they don't know what a hammer is, right? So your job is to say, hey guys, here's this thing that can whack the nails. And they would rather say, our hammer is made out of, X grade steel or titanium, and it weighs 16 ounces. And the person with the nails is like, how does that help me? Like, they just can't make the connection. So to me, it's not marketing, it's not sales, it's not advertising, and it's not even quality. It's like a foundational understanding of what you do and why, that most companies have no clue how to do or execute. And even when you hire a CMO or something internally, it's a curse. That person is now bound to all of these metrics. They often don't have budgetary oversight, and they're responsible for success of these numbers while also people pleasing their executive team. So they're balancing this, like, weird amorphous shape, trying to keep it upright, when in reality all they need to do is be connecting their product to customer pain points. And a lot of the times we run into one person marketing teams or two person marketing teams who are like, we're given an impossible mission, we need your help. So yeah, there's a benefit to externality, and I think quality has a lot to do with your ability to either outsource objectivity or to pull yourself out of a situation and see it for the purpose that it has to exist.
It's funny you just explained those workshops, because that's exactly what I do as well. So I have one of the 9 that I have is messaging strategy, which really is a combination of brand and product elements brought together into your offering and then repurposed for with that external sort of audience in mind, which is skill. You're going to get to switch around, right? And you're going to take all those sort of features and put a value prop around there and then put that into headlines and words. Really difficult synthesizing all that. But yeah, I use a similar workshop format because you need to get buy-in from every single person. Otherwise it falls over and somebody in a senior decision making role goes, no, I don't like that. Oh, why don't you like that? Oh, I don't like that. Or my wife doesn't like that. Or my son or daughter doesn't like that. Or our competitor's saying it like this. And you're like, oh, great. Here we go. So yeah, I find you need to get everybody together. Otherwise, yeah, it's the weakest link. But speaking about that, you did touch on a bit about metrics, right? Which is really interesting. So people were very surprised the other month when I was talking about, look, I've gotten my most business from my least popular posts on social media and vice versa. The most viral ones, they go viral, but like nobody talks to me, nobody DMs me. Like I get hundreds of followers, but like, what's the point of that? So big difference between playing the popularity game, I find, and then playing the commercial value game on social media with content. So what's your experience there as well? Because like this is the issue, is that some people gauge these engagement metrics as quality signals, like views and comments and likes and things like that. And I found that that is not a great metric. It's a proxy metric, and sometimes it's like completely misleading. So what's your experience there?
I think it's almost total nonsense. I'm not saying it is total nonsense, but it's gratuitous and masturbatory. I think it has very little to do with success. Numbers are an indicator, but it's like saying, well, I'm 100 and I lost 16 pounds, therefore I'm healthy. Like, okay, that's cool, but are you actually healthy? Everyone says like health at any size, but at the same time, it's like, can you really be healthy at 300 pounds? Like, your skeleton is not built for that. So there's a lot of this sort of brainwashing we do to ourselves. We have 10,000 followers, therefore we're successful. Well, no, 10,000 followers doesn't mean success. It means you coerced or tricked or manipulated or persuaded 10,000 people to click a button. Now that's cool. That's great if you know how to do that. But like, I often say to founders, do you want 10,000 followers, 5,000 leads, or 10 high quality leads a month? Because really all you need is the 10. Can you imagine if we had 10 quality leads every month? It would break your business. For most companies, like, they couldn't onboard 10 high quality leads every month. And yet we're chasing 5,000. Like, why? It has nothing to do with your business's success. Like, I love this on Twitter when you see these people with thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're like, hey guys, can you go to my Etsy shop and buy some stuff? I literally can't pay my bills this month. I'm just like, well, why didn't your followers get you, wealth and riches and popularity? Like, what did that get you? It got you nothing. And this happens all the time. Uh, so it's like we trick ourselves into believing some high number, a big number, or lots of zeros does something for our business, when in reality, it does something for the social media network. It does something for the social media manager, which is cool. Like, we have a social media manager. We love that she's so successful and helps our clients' brands grow. But if our client grows to 5,000 followers from 30 followers in a year and they get no new leads, are we really doing our job well? And I would say no. Like, followers is a signal that what you're doing attracts attention, which is great. But attention does not convert into dollars. And so I would much rather have 30 followers that are just obsessed with what I do and actually will pay me money. Like my weird music YouTube channel, I have 22,000, 23,000 YouTube subscribers. Who cares? Like, it does nothing for me. I get $200 a month, and people are like, oh man, your channel's so big. That must be great. I'm like, yeah, I can almost pay for website hosting, email hosting, domain renewals. It's like that. It doesn't get you what you think it does. And so it's this sort of trick that the networks play on you. And I think it's a mass psyop. It's like a psychological operation that says the big numbers will mean success, when in reality, quality leads and converted business is success for a business. No business survives on followers.
Sorry, you're talking about vanity metrics, and I think one thing I've noticed as well is these lurkers, right? So I have a high proportion of, I would call them some lurkers. So they don't, and this is the hidden, I think, value of social media where people go wrong with these metrics as well, is that I've got a lot of people who DM me going, oh, I love that post, can't like or comment, for obvious reasons, political reasons, but like this cracks me up or whatever. So we'll add to your view count, which nobody really sees, but nobody else will see the like or the comment or any sort of other form of engagement. And I find that skews generally towards people who are in higher decision making or like higher political situations as well. So if we're optimizing for people who are like more explicit in their interaction with you, it's generally people a bit more junior, because one, they have the time, like we just mentioned before, right? Number two, they're allowed to comment and lurk, and be explicit around their interaction. Whereas the higher you get, the executives, it's either not them, or if it is them, they don't explicitly respond. So I think that signal gets lost as well. I found. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my goodness, lurkers are where the magic happens. My biggest fans on Make Word Music are the people who don't like and comment. They're the ones who give me money every month because they believe in me and what I do, right? Like, what are you optimizing for? Some number that goes up on the screen. And I say this to our clients too, like content marketing doesn't mean your numbers go up. It means that business goals are met. So like if you're going to do marketing, you should have goals around that. Like you need to actually say, I need this piece to lead to this result. And that's awesome. Like that's what good content does. And I've written pieces of content that led to 5,000 hits an hour for this for one guy's business. We got him to the front page of Hacker News. Another guy's business got acquired by a larger data company because I kept writing these sophisticated data pieces for him on a pretty popular data publication on Medium. We've had one of our clients, like we helped them get to 1 million plus downloads of their open source community security project. Where's that number? Is that in your Google search console? No, of course not. Like no marketer is going to go to a dashboard and see any of these things. Like maybe they'll see the number of downloads or something, but like if your business lands one major lead from a piece of content, it can change your whole business. It can change the entire trajectory of your future. What company is going to thrive because they got 50,000 likes on a post? What company is going to thrive because they got 100,000 new followers? None. That stuff doesn't mean anything, and anyone can buy those results. You cannot buy a conversion. So it's like people who don't run businesses don't understand what it's like to run a business. And so because I run a business and you run a business and we talk to other people who run businesses and we sell to them, like we're not selling gratuitously, we're selling the hope of a result, like the increasing the probability of something, a moonshot of something great happening. And so when I think about numbers, I just think all we need is one, you know. And you hear a lot of these people say, if I can just change one life, then I'll feel great about it. That's BS. Like nobody, that never is true. You already have done it and you should feel great already, but you don't because you're chasing a number. You're not chasing an internal satisfaction. You're chasing, well, the one isn't enough. Why can't I get 10? Why can't I get 100? I want to impact 10 million lives. Like that is the problem with numbers. It's just a chase. So goals and results matter far more than anything else. All the other stuff, the numbers they give you, it's to make normal dorks feel good about their success online, because you can see people with huge followings that can't even pay their bills. And then there's people like me and you where it's like, okay, I'm going to go on a vacation to Europe this December just to get out of the country and go do something fun. And we have the cash because it's not about being popular. It's about like living a great life and attracting the people who will pay you money.
Yeah, I think there's a dash of ego sprinkled over as well, right? So like, I'm not 100% on the commercial thing because when I've sold that, it's sometimes quite unsellable. I find I need to put a dash of ego in sometimes for the purchasers. Like, hey, I'll make your account look good. Also, on the back end, you'll get you'll get some good business out of this. Don't worry about that. So that pressure will go over. But also, I'll make you look good. Your follow account will go up. And then sometimes they want to hop to the next company anyway. I find so like they want to use some of the company money for their own gain. Nothing wrong with that officially. Kill two birds with one stone.
But there's numbers that like get you to a level of, you get to credibility. You get to like, no one's going to take a business seriously that has 10 followers. But if you got 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers, okay, now you're starting to look credible. Like it's kind of like I make $10,000 a year doing this hobby, this YouTube channel. That's cool, but like I can't live off of that. So I need to do something that generates enough money to do everything that I need to do. And to do that, I have to look serious. So the numbers are vanity up to a point. And for a lot of these popular accounts online, you don't even know why they're popular. You have no idea what these people do or who they are. It's completely unclear. And then you realize they probably don't even write what they're writing on their accounts anyway. So it's just like it becomes this big game. Like once your eyes are open to it, it's hard to unsee it.
And I think a lot of people on social media don't, they're playing to the algorithm. They don't realize that they are the product, like they're being socially engineered without them knowing about it and pointed in the wrong direction. So, yeah, I think it's like vanity metrics really cool on social media, make you look good. Like you said, get past the threshold of credibility, but then past that point, it sort of becomes a bit more about the outcomes underneath. And I think they can definitely point you in the wrong direction. But yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, what are some of the things I think you've learned from ghostwriting that you were surprised about, or any sort of highlights from your career so far, from writing topics for people, or books? I think you do books as well, yes?
Yeah, I've ghostwritten a couple books and I've written several of my own.
Which celebs out there are good, like complete fakes, by the way? Like, sorry, I forgot to mention, like, we're talking about some other people like that business that didn't work very well, but like, there are some very famous people I know that just pilfer ideas from somebody else, hire a really good ghostwriter, get famous from it, and then they have no idea what they're talking about, but it's really well crafted. I mean, is there any you can call out?
Oh geez, I don't know. I honestly I mute and block anyone who's popular. Like once I see there's these like red flags to me, I just immediately mute them. And so I'm the wrong person to ask. Um, there's this guy Trung T Fan or something. I don't. Elon Musk interacts a lot with him, and he's constantly regurgitating stories. He does it very well, but like there are a lot of these accounts that don't tell anything sort of original. They're just really good at repackaging stuff, which is awesome, but not my thing. Like I'm not online for that. So as soon as someone hits six-figure followers, unless it's Nassim Taleb or something, like I just mute them and I don't want to deal with them. And especially people that I try interacting with and then they don't interact with me at all. I'm just like, you're not you're not playing the same game I am, so why would I waste my time? But I think some of the biggest lessons I've learned are really simple ones. I attribute it primarily to my business partner, Ellis. She's incredibly smart and incredibly like insightful about content. First of all, content is unpredictable. You never know what's going to succeed. Secondly, it's a long tail game. You never get results right away. And of course, you see all these stories about this guy's first video got 5 million views. To call it an anomaly is generous. It's like so far in the tail of statistical deviation. It's just like that's not it's never going to happen for any of us. And then they're like, what lessons can you learn? You literally can't learn any lessons. So the reason that those people are making content about learning lessons is because they're going to benefit from writing content or making a video about learning those lessons. You have to have good content. It can't be boring. You have to address pain points. You have to provide actual value. And there's a million BS vendors out there. The people who are the real deal, who make the biggest difference, are the ones. They often have fewer than 5,000 followers. They have more money or freedom or whatever it is, multiple forms of freedom, than they care to develop a following. They're just being themselves. And I don't know, that's kind of who I aspire to be. There's a guy like Dave Trott, Les Binet. There's a bunch of these like amazing marketing types, Rory Sutherland, just really smart, insightful people. And it's like these guys will never be popular because they're too smart to be popular. Becoming popular is sort of a game, and it takes a type of intelligence, which is super cool. And I respect that in a big way. But that's just not what I'm after. And I don't see that as quality. If you're appealing to hundreds of thousands of people, then what are you actually producing that's of quality? You just can't satisfy hundreds of thousands of people. It's not possible.
Yeah, you basically become a cult leader in a way, and a lot of these people have read cult books. But no, I think that was really good. Anthony, yeah, thanks for chatting a bit about sort of the dark secrets of ghostwriting. I'll have to come up with some really good headlines for this actually. So and snip it up. Otherwise, you're going to be on my back. So I've just got 5 questions to finish.
Okay, well, let me give you some secrets of ghostwriting. I'll just cut you off. Sorry about that. Okay, ghostwriting gets a bad rap, but people pay ghostwriters because they know they can't write, or they don't have the time, or they don't have the interest. And I got ripped on by tons of people for saying ghostwriter for CEOs. To me, it's a badge of honor because these people are really smart, doing really amazing work. But like, I don't want this conversation's takeaway to be like, oh, these ghost written, blah, blah, blah. It's just that like ghostwriting is a service like anything else. And people have to pay to play in these social games and whatever. The people that I've ghostwritten for are brilliant, ambitious, really like talented, creative people. We can't all be good at everything, right? And these people are already running big, successful companies. So I just feel like there's nothing wrong with hiring a ghostwriter. I've ghostwritten tons and tons of content. And I look at it and I'm proud to say, look, hey, CEO, I wrote this for you and you can share this proudly. It is your thoughts. And I've just packaged them up in a way that like you just can't. And that's what I'm good at. And so I feel like for me, ghostwriting is a very humbling experience that is really wonderful. And I can actually help people because otherwise people are just trying to take advantage of these execs because it's like you've got money, you've got popularity, you have VC connections, you have this and that. I'm not interested in that. I just want to help you as a human being. And I think a lot of ghostwriters are actually interested in just doing something creative that is helpful, and it's like the market provides that need. So that, to me, the secret is it's actually a good thing. And another secret is God bless, all the people who are humble enough to actually say, I'm not good at writing and I should hire someone to help me.
It was funny. I was talking to Vicky Ross about this, and she has this really good line about everyone can write, but not everyone can write copy, as in, copywriting, which is writing that persuades people to take action or think about something. And it's a very big distinction, I think, because these skills, like, it's like we go to a restaurant, everyone goes to restaurants, but like, if you wanted to manage a restaurant, that is a hard, one of the most competitively saturated, hardest business models to make any money out of. And if you can do that really well, respect and kudos to you. And it's the same with like marketing. Anyone can post some, shit around, some ads, whatever. Like, that's easy, but like it's never been easy than before, really. But like to get money out of that, that's another skill set entirely. And I think same for writing. I can write some crap. Doesn't mean someone's going to write it. Doesn't mean someone's going to like be persuaded to take action off it or like buy whatever it is that you're selling. That's a very different sort of leap. So yeah, never underestimate that, I think. But yeah, the more, yeah.
Yeah, society wants you to be perfect at so many things. And it's like, why would you expect this person who built this incredible company and built these incredible products to also be an incredible writer? People think writing is this commodity. Like, if you could communicate well, your life would be completely different. But the fact that you have 50 followers, the fact that you don't have friends in real life, the fact that like all these negative things happen to you, it's probably a result of poor communication and bad decision making. So I'm like, the, a lot of these like really smart people know their limits, and thank God for that, because if they just kept putting out their content without a ghostwriter, trust me, I've seen it, it's really bad. And I'm just grateful to say, look, you've got great ideas, you've got great vision, but you stink at writing, please let me help you. And they're grateful for it, so it's cool.
That's the best direct pitch I've ever seen. It's like honest and brutally true. Um, it's like, you suck at writing. I got you. I got you. 5 questions to finish that. What is a book that you're reading or have read recently that's really changed your thinking for the better?
Okay, I answered some of your questions in this Google Doc. Okay, this is going to be, yeah, it's Orthodoxy by G.K. Chesterton. Technically, it's a Catholic apologetics book, but man, just completely changed my worldview. It's just incredible. So there's like Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, but Orthodoxy by G.K. Chesterton is like, if you read a paragraph, you might as well eat a 28-ounce steak. It's the same thing. One or two paragraphs of Chesterton is like so full and rich of incredible wisdom, deep beauty, and wit that I'll never have. The guy has more. He's written more in one book than I'll produce in my entire life. Amazing.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that, so that's good. I'm glad I asked these questions. I got some of the best suggestions. So, and Sim Taleb. I mean, that's a big call. Better than him. He's a great writer. Okay, what about a secret website which you'll tell everybody about today, but you wouldn't normally divulge?
Okay, so I've been on the web since I was 13 years old in 1995. I used to build websites. I'm an OG HTML nerd, and so a couple of the sites that have been around a long time that I've been reading. Daring Fireball. There's a guy named John Gruber. It's just Macintosh stuff, like stuff about the Apple Macintosh computer and just Apple in general. But it used to be really focused on the Mac. And John Gruber's a great writer, really insightful. And he's just an interesting guy that's just been online forever. So his site, and then this other guy, Rob Cockerham, he's an inventor and creative genius, and he's just this really interesting guy who produces. He's like kind of famous for his Halloween costumes. Like he literally made a Wheel of Fortune costume where his head is in the middle of the wheel, and it's like 6 8 feet, radius. So he's got this huge, well, not 8 feet, but 5 to 6 foot radius. So this huge wheel, like that actually spins and has the clicker things and everything, like on his face. And every year he builds these incredible things. So cockeyed.com and daringfireball.net.
Okay, great suggestions. What about a piece of tech you can't do without software or hardware?
All right, so this is so lame, but my latest M1 MacBook Pro, it was maybe $4,000. I've been a Mac user since 1984. I was 2 years old and I learned how to read and write on it. This Mac is incredible. Like I do 4K video editing, I do writing, I build software, I compile code. This computer does everything, and the battery life, it's just like, I know it's such a lame thing to be like a commercial for Apple. So I would just say the one thing outside of the lame, computer endorsement is my acoustic guitar. I got this great acoustic guitar. It sounds wonderful. And the guitar has just been a life-saving thing for me. I have written I've contributed to several guitar books oh yeah, what's that?
I don't want to show you the front. It's just a cheap one that I practice on.
Okay. So yeah, I have a whole wall of guitars over here. I'm really, really into guitar. I've transcribed entire albums and, very technical stuff, but my acoustic guitar it's just my like little slice of heaven. If I can take an acoustic guitar up into the mountains of Arizona, nothing is better than that. So hardware.
I've seen some of your pictures actually when you're hiking around. It's really nice country around there and very diverse. Like it goes from like they have ski mountains in the north near the Utah sort of end of Arizona, and then you go desert, and then you've got the coastline as well to the south. So it's I think it's underrated. Like it's kind of like Texas, but you've got mountains.
Yeah, it's only 4 hours from the beautiful beaches of Mexico, 5 hours from San Diego, and every type of climate you could imagine except for rainforests in Arizona. So it's a beautiful state. We have the Grand Canyon, Monument Valley, Antelope Canyon. We have vineyards. There's everything, just everything you could imagine in Arizona. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's the same sort of population as New South Wales, where Sydney is in Australia. So actually, no, New South Wales is a bit bigger, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, great. I want to go there, but I'm just always either in the west or the east coast, and like I don't travel in the middle, which is bad. But I've been to Wyoming and Utah, so I got close. So next time I'll have to visit. It's over to you. Plug whatever you want. What are you selling? Over to you.
I'm a guy with a lot of irons in the fire. So my main job is content marketing. We sell B2B tech SaaS, non-technical and technical content marketing at edifycontent.com. That's Edify. And then my YouTube channel, Make Weird Music. It's pretty diverse. There's some really out there stuff, and there's some stuff that won't surprise anyone. But it's really just like shining a light on underrepresented, underrecognized, talented musicians from all over the world. It's taken me all over the world. I've filmed concerts on 3 continents, and I'll be going to East Asia later in the middle of next year. So it's been wonderful. And then my books and other personal efforts are at my personal website, anthonygarone.com. But yeah, I don't have much to plug. I guess I have a new book coming out later this year called Mental Prisons, which is kind of like my personal story of escaping my own insecurity and finding confidence in myself.
Okay, I like it. Well, true to your word, you're writing your own content as well. So, like, kudos to you. Okay, that's great. What's the best way for people to contact you? You mentioned your website, edify.com. Is there any other preferred method or social media?
I would just say don't contact me. I'm too overloaded, but like you can find me pretty easily anywhere. Just look for my name and Anthony Garone, and you'll find me. And you can message me, but there's no guarantee I'll reply. And I really appreciate people reaching out, but I just don't have time for it.
Said like a true busy introvert. I like it.
Yeah, don't.
That's great. Okay, well, I'm a bit the same. Like, but it's part of the job. Unfortunately, like, sort of like in comms and strategies. I got to do it regardless. But yeah, maybe if they do contact you, they're talking to your ghostwriter anyway. So
Wait till AI, man. Wait till AI starts ghostwriting for us. Then it's going to be nuts.
Well, thanks very much for being on the show, Anthony. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll have to get you back sometime if people really resonate with what's going on. I think it's a really good topic because a lot of changes in social media and people are noticing it. Quality is always king, so it's interesting to get sort of from the horse's mouth what that means and the difficulties and opportunity that's there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, don't be boring. That's all it comes down to.